He keeps it on the track, doesn't kick up any dust. Just when you think things are going to calm down, things get weird.
Get your engines ready. Welcome to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Dan Duncan.
And a good afternoon and welcome to SEN Supercars. Thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. We are here today for the top 10 shootout at Mount Panorama, and if the action that we've already witnessed so far this weekend at Bathurst is anything to go by, then we are set for something quite truly spectacular this afternoon. I'm Matthew Cox. Great to have your company for the top 10 shootout, and I'm alongside Cam Vanden Dungan. Welcome to you, Cam.
Coxie, it's good to be back at SEN, mate. It's good to be back calling all the action at the mountain. I did 10 years with Supercars Media. Been spending my time more recently in Formula One land. So to get the call up to talk about the mountain is something very special to me.
And fresh off the humidity of Singapore last weekend, just a nice little change of scenery to the rural area of New South Wales, and to witness what is on forecast, at least, to be one of the more action-packed top 10 shootouts that we've seen in recent memory, on the basis of what we saw in qualifying yesterday.
Qualifying was the tightest top 10 I think we've seen in the history of the sport. I was talking to Thomas Randall last night, who was the last car into the shootout. Big shout-out to Tom Randall. I should call him Thomas. He prefers Thomas. This is his first one. He was a bit nervous last night, and he said, last year I would have been third with that sort of time, that sort of gap to the pole time, and yet here I am 10th, only just in 2/10 off the pace, and he is inside the top 10 for his first ever shootout. Now, for those that are new to the sport of supercars, and particularly to Mount Panorama, this is our grand final. This is our Mecca. This is the biggest day of them all. It is our race that stops the nation. And so to have the eyes of Australia on you after 5 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, there is nothing more special. And for every driver up and down that grid to get a slot in the top 10 for the top 10 shootout is extremely special.
It is. And on a day, we had some weather earlier in the week on Thursday during practice that impacted things. There were a few cars that speared off into the walls as courtesy of the damn conditions, but we've had perfect weather since. It does look a little bit blustery out there, though, today, and in the earlier practice session, I think they caught James Golding at the top of the mountain as he came down through the S's, just had a little moment just to create the hairs on the back of the neck sticking up. So as far as the sun is concerned, it is a little bit warm, but the wind could play a little bit of havoc in this top 10 shootout.
I won't nerd out too hard too early, but UV also plays a factor. So you actually want a bit of cloud cover, particularly for the top 10 shootout. That just takes the edge off the track. What you do want as a driver, though, is consistency for everyone that's out there. Exact same wind conditions, exact same UV exposure to the track, and ideally at a circuit like Mount Panorama, you want dry. The wet, I know they'll say there are masters of the wet like a Shane Van Gisbergen, and every time I spoke to SVG about it, he goes, I don't like driving in the wet. He goes, I just happen to be good at it. And yet here he is off plying his craft now in the US. But the track itself, there is no room for error. So back to your point about the wind, yeah, it can play a part in it, because if you're up near the grate, you are literally, as you drive up, the first time you get into the grate, having driven a car over there, you're getting literally dragged into the wall. It scares the bejesus out of you the first time you do it. And then if you don't do it every lap after then, you're not fast enough. So if the wind just catches you out, you can hit a wall very easily at Mount Panorama. That may play a part in today's top 10 shootout.
We'll go through the results from qualifying in a moment, but you can get involved with us this afternoon. 0457 736 736 on the text. If you've got any questions that you'd like to pose to us here in the commentary box, or any other observations, share them with us. 0457 736 736. You can hear the cars beginning to start up in the background. That's because the Super 2 is about to get started, and there's a keen eye on what's unfolding with the Super 2 series, because there are a lot of drivers that are featuring in this support category that will tomorrow be forming part either as a co-driver or, in some of the wildcards, the primary driver.
100%. So there's these drivers, Rylan Gray on the front there and Lockie Dalton, are two drivers that are throwing, I guess you'd say, punches at each other. There was a great race for Super 2 yesterday. Looking forward to them. Rylan Gray, I've got to know through GT4, watching him with George Miedeke, and he's done some great things in the Mustang and very highly rated by the Miedeke family. So I've been impressed with watching his transfer over to Super 2 and now also a co-driver in the main game. Lockie Dalton came to my attention through Trans Am, which is a really cool category that's on the rise in Australia. It's kind of like your grassroots, and it's a national category, but you'll understand where I'm going with this, Coxie. It's like a grassroots version of Supercars. Space frame chassis, H-pattern gearbox, V8, really hard to drive. But Lockie Dalton, look at the crossover. He's taken that form to be sitting on pole for this race they're about to start now, and he'll be taking part in the great race later. And another driver that's up in the mix in Super 2, and I'll look at his name on our timing monitor, Nash Morris, son of Paul Morris, a winner at the 2014 Bathurst that was the greatest race of the great race of all time.
Yeah, that had a bit of everything that day.
It had a bit of it. I was a pit lane reporter that day. I sniffed a frothy at the end of the day, and I was on my ear. It was such a big day. I remember talking to Larko, standing in the middle of the grid with a red flag, all the cars being worked on in 2014, going, what on earth is this? And we still had more to unfold after that. 2 cars into the wall that finished first and second, and then the third car ran out of fuel just to make things interesting. But Shane Van Gisbergen, who I was mentioning before, he was odds on to win that. I was at that pit stop. I knew his number one mechanic, a guy called Steve White, incredible talent. And then when the car went to refire and it wouldn't refire and it was on the jacks, Shane Van Gisbergen was lost his what was supposed to be his maiden Bathurst 1000 win, all because of a starter motor. Yeah. And that becomes the story of tomorrow. But today it's about 1 lap pace, and that's probably what we'll start to build up to. We're going to have a chat with a co-driver. He's not in the 10, but he's someone who's been there and done it before, and Lee Holdsworth. He's coming up just after 4:30 today. So we want plenty of you. If you've got a question for him, make sure, Coxie will give you the text line number in a second. Make sure you give us what you'd like to know. Lethal Lee will be joining us just after 4:30.
0457 736 736 to send through your messages with us this afternoon. Our presenting partner is Tyre Power, always on the podium with Kumho Tyres. And if we take a look at the starting grid as it is at the moment, because remember the top 10 will change based on the top 10 shootout that will take place in less than an hour's time now. This is all thanks to Rheem, Australia's favourite hot water and proud sponsor of the Shell V-Power Racing team. And that man in the Shell V-Power Racing team Mustang on top, Brody Kostecki yesterday. Provisional pole, 2 minutes 04.031. Incredible that it looks as though he's going for his 3rd consecutive pole position, which will be the first in the top 10 shootout format. Peter Brock did it 3 consecutive times. Moffat did it 3 consecutive times. Peter Brock only had to do a couple of top 10 shootouts, though, because that's when it was phased into existence. So for him to be able to do this in a new environment, yes, there's a few familiar faces around him, but he's at the pointy end again, Brody Kostecki's had a few interesting comments to say over the last 24 hours, which no doubt we'll discuss over the course of the weekend. But the fact that he at the moment is ahead of Brock Feeney by 0.0064 of a second, it's phenomenal how close this top 10 is.
Yeah, just to put that into another number for you, 6,000ths of a second. 6,000ths of a second between himself and Brock Feeney. They are the 2 heavyweight hitters. They're the 2 powerhouses. Brody Kostecki, new team you mentioned. He's come across from Erebus, where he won the race last year. He's brought his teammate, good old Toddy Hazelwood, will be there alongside him. They are a formidable driving outfit. They'll be very good. Brock Feeney and J-Dub, though, one of the greatest of all times. It's exactly what I was hoping to see shaping up. There's some drivers we will start to build towards, though. Cooper Murray, he is racing at Erebus now. He was so quick yesterday. He put 2 laps in the first couple of sequences. They ran 4 soft tyres, so 4 green tyres for those that are joining us in motorsport. Green tyres mean brand new. Brand new, fastest tyre you're going to get your hands on. They spend most of their Thursday running around on old rubber. They spend a little bit of Friday running around on old rubber, and every driver waits to bolt on a new set of boots so they can go to the dance. And Cooper Murray, for me, has already come out and said, I'm putting it all on the line today. So he'll be the 5th driver, no, 6th driver out, 5th driver out. He'll be fifth was at the end of qualifying, which set that top 10 shootout. He's the one I'm going to keep an eye out for. Chaz Mostert. I mean, the guy's an absolute jet. He was one of those guys that got caught out. First session, he was in the wall heading on up the mountain, and he's now inside the 10. Cam Waters, highly rated. I know Mark Scaife was on Breakfast Radio with SEN. He said they're the team to beat, Frosty and Cam Waters. I really like Tom Randall and James Moffat. I really like them. There's something special. They're coming in, top 10. Moff is an incredible talent. You can hear Super 2 underway, just making their way up the mountain for the first time. Nash Morris has got a decent little jump there, so he's now leading this one, and we've got an issue at the first turn, and I can hear Matt Nolte firing away in the background on commentary, and this one will be under safety car. So unfortunately, a bit like we saw with the Toyota 86s, this is a crash-marred start to this one, but it's Nash Morris from Gray and Dalton, your top three. He's getting a replay now of the start. It was a great jump by Nash Morris, immediately off the line. Hull shotted it on his way up to turn number one. Lockie Dalton got slightly wrong-footed. Rylan Gray hung tough to the outside, and then it was bump and grind all the way back through the order. Straight into the fence, nowhere to go when you get pushed into the wall on that first turn. Unfortunate, but that's why I call it Hell Corner.
Yes, yeah. And, let's hope maybe something similar will happen in terms of the action tomorrow when the rail race gets underway.
No safety cars, please. I want to go racing. I love the game of chess that it is. Safety car late, maybe. Late, not early.
Will we get one? Because it looked as though...
How many are we going to get, really?
Well, we only got one last year.
I know. It's going to be heat. Look at the order, though. 6 thousandths of a second between first and second. The gap to next, 500ths of a second. 500ths of a second, the next gap. 600ths of a second, the next gap. 900ths of a second, the next gap. And I'm talking the top six there. They are so evenly matched. But I want to come back to the Brody Kostecki comments, because he blew the place up. Like, he literally lit a match and blew the joint up last night, talking about parity. And I think he feels he is right to say it, because if the numbers are the way he says, and I'm not going to... I have no dog in the fight, let's say. If they are the way he says, then the Chev Camaros, if they have that 4-lap advantage on fuel, forget the power, because Brody's already able to do it. You can't claim that they've got the fastest car, Brody. You put it on provisional pole. But fuel economy, that is something. Now, if this race is compromised, and look, the numbers say Ford haven't been having a happy hunting ground at the mountain for the last decade, right? So, but is that partly Red Bull being such a good team, or Erebus doing such a great job, or is it that there is a potentially unfair advantage in the Gen 3 car from a fuel economy point of view? What does it mean for the layman that's out there? If you need 4 laps, if you can stretch 4 laps longer, I should say, in a stint, when we get to that final pit stop, you need less fuel on board to get to the end. Less fuel on board means less stop time. That means you get a faster time through the pits because of your fuel advantage. That can be the difference, particularly if it's a late race safety car and you stop for X amount of seconds less than the other person. You can jump someone, you can gap someone. It is an unfair advantage if the numbers are correct. The challenge for Brody Kostecki is, in order to change that regulation mid-season, mid-race, everyone in the field needs to unanimously agree to it, which they did not. In fact, half of them didn't even turn up to the scheduled meeting, and it got cancelled.
And this is all off the back of the Gen 3 era in supercars that has been around for the last couple of years, where we've gone to a lot more control components, but things like the engine, the aerodynamics are still variable in the category, and with Toyota coming in, that adds some...
Well, we need to keep some difference, really, for the tribalism.
Yeah, but we also want close racing, which is where the word that we don't like using in motorsport, parity, comes in.
Mate, I was on the Friday knockoffs up in Queensland, and you show up there really enjoying with those boys who were sitting at a pub in Fortitude Valley, and they were talking about parity, and they go, what does it mean? So many people, in our world, it just means equalisation, as close as possible. They are different engines, they're different body shapes, there will always be some differences, but how do we narrow that window? In horse racing, we're on a horse racing station, you can put some weight in, you can put some weight on the jockey and away you go. Very hard to do that in racing. In GT style racing, we load them up with success ballast, which is weight in the car. Something like this, though, fuel economy, that's actually a really grey area.
And this has come off a report that was finalised earlier in the week from Supercars' technical team that did some testing for engine variabilities at altitude, which obviously comes to the fore because we're racing around a mountain. So that's what's spurred on Brody Kostecki's comments. Was it the right place for him to bring it up, though? After the closest qualifying session that we've ever had around Bathurst, for him to make those comments in the press conference yesterday, he got some laughs from Brock Feeney and Ryan Wood, who's also in a Mustang. His eyes lit up at the comments as they were unfolding. He's then doubled down on the TV broadcast today, was being interviewed by Mark Larkham, and went again, doubling down with those comments. Is he right to be saying those? You operate in this space more than I do. Is he right to be saying that type of comment after qualifying in provisional pole in what has been the closest qualifying session we've ever seen between cars that for a long period of time have had a lot of baggage hanging over them, but I think we've found a real sweet spot with them to put it onto the main stage and put it onto the front of some of the national papers in some respects? Was it the right thing to do?
I think he is entitled to have an opinion, and I think it is good that he's felt comfortable enough to voice it. And why not do it at the biggest press conference, or one of the biggest conferences of the year? He certainly put it front and centre. He wasn't getting their way behind, closed doors. They weren't getting their way with their meetings. Good on him. So, do I agree with it? I don't know. I'm not sitting there in the rooms, and it's our job, Coxie, which is exactly what we're doing right now, to have that discussion. And I'm sure there are plenty of Ford fans out there that feel he's right to do that. That's what makes this sport so great. The Holden crew are now the Chev Camaro crew. Ford are still Ford. We're going to have the new legion of Toyota fans coming in. That was really well pointed out earlier when Neil Crompton got to cut some laps in that vehicle. But, hey, jump on the text line. Tell us, what do you think? Ford, are you aggrieved? Are you being hard done by? And I'm sure there's plenty of Ford fans out there.
0457 736 736. Or those in the GM camp, is it a storm in a teacup? And are you happy just to proceed onwards?
Jamie Whincup gave the best answer there. He goes, hey, I'm just a co-driver today. I'll have my conversation on Monday. So very much a politician is J-Dub.
Yeah, you can tell he's been around the category for a very long time. We'll run through the rest of the grid shortly. For Reen, proud sponsor of the Shell V-Power racing team, as we said. Brodie Kostecki on provisional pole ahead of the top 10 shootout that will take place very shortly. It's SEN Supercars, thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven, Australian owned and made since 1926. Matthew Cox alongside Cameron Van Dungen will be back right after this.
Win $1,000 every week over spring with Tipper, Australia's real-time marketplace for tipsters and punters. Simply add your tips to the app to be in the running, and the tipster with the highest return on investment wins the cash prize. There are 14 weekly prizes to be awarded. Win some cash and grow your following. On now ends November 30. Head to tipper.bet for all the details. T's and C's apply. Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
G'day, Ray Hadley here for Bryden's Lawyers. Do you require professional help with a legal matter? The dedicated team at Bryden's Lawyers are there to help you with all your legal needs. Whether dealing with a personal injury claim, a family law matter or property dispute, the experts at Bryden's Lawyers have the knowledge and experience to guide you through the process and put you at ease. Call Bryden's Lawyers today on that number, 1-800-848-848, or go to the website brydens.com.au. Bryden's Lawyers, who helps you in your time of need? Bryden's Lawyers do.
Looking for a trusted mechanic who can expertly service your vehicle? At Repco Authorised Service, we've got you covered. Our nationwide network of independently owned workshops proudly use and recommend Penrite Oil, Australian family owned and operated for 100 years. From daily drives to cherished classics, Repco Authorised Service and Penrite can help keep your car running at its best. So no matter what you drive, book your next service online today at repcoservice.com. Repco Authorised Service, your local mechanic, backed by Repco.
Get what you really want with a great drive-away deal on select Ford Ranger models, like the Ranger Black Edition, model year 26, from $55,000 drive-away for ABN holders. Recommended price at participating dealers while stocks last.
I just want to get pumped up, for the bass get loud.
The Isuzu Ute A-League kicks off October 17 on Paramount Plus.
More energy, more passion.
Oh, it's a wonderful strike.
Every kick, every slide.
I want to see you jump just one more time.
Every game live.
Let me see you jump just one more time.
Can you believe this?
The Isuzu Ute A-League kicks off October 17 on Paramount Plus.
You top it. You shank it. You yell for a lot, but you keep coming back because there's never enough golf. At Golfbox, we get it. Save up to 40% off golf gear during our 40th anniversary sale. Golfbox. Never enough golf.
I hear it a lot. If only there was an accountant who got tradies. Well, actually, there's Latitude Accountants, the small business accountant whose mission is to help small businesses understand the numbers and manage their tax. And Latitude Accountants really get tradies. Sure, they're recognised experts in xero and tax, but they're also tradies' mates and passionate footy fans. Let Latitude Accountants do the counting for you. ABN holders, book your no-obligation consultation at latitudeaccountants.com.au.
You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Dan Dungan.
The action keeps going. Under safety car, though, at Mount Panorama for the Super 2s ahead of the Boost Top 10 Shootout. 5:05 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. It'll be 4:05 if you're up in Queensland, and where you can work the rest out from wherever you are in the country. Coxie, we're going to get a driver on very shortly, aren't we?
We certainly are. Tony D'Alberto, we're standing by to make contact with him this afternoon. He is part of the Shell V-Power racing team. He'll be teaming up with Will Davison in car 17 this year, which have qualified a little way down the order, a little disappointingly. They've changed chassis coming into this event. Had to be pulled out of the museum to be able to be utilised for this weekend, which is one of the quirks that no doubt we'll explore during the race tomorrow afternoon. But Tony D'Alberto joins us live. Tony, good afternoon.
G'day, guys. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Noisy here.
Who was that? Oh, you're a bit noisy. Hey, Tony D'Alberto, Cam Van den Dungen here, mate. Thank you. I know it's a busy day for you, although not as busy as you boys would have liked at this time. Mate,
Yes.
You can win from anywhere. You've been there and done it. Well, give us the good news. What's the good part about your car with Will Davo?
Look, I think the people that say that you can win it from anywhere, the ones that aren't in the top 10 shootout, we'd obviously love to have been there, but such a tight quality session you would have seen. You know, we were 3/10 off pole. And, back in 14th. So it just shows how tight everything is, how good a job the teams are doing, and how close the cars are. So we're looking pretty good. We've been working pretty hard on our race car, especially today. So we're reasonably comfortable, but you just never know. You really don't. Looks like a little bit of weather tomorrow. Different conditions. You know, today's very, very hot here, a lot of UV, so the car sort of reacts a bit different than what it will tomorrow. So we're just trying to cover all bases and make sure we've got a good plan for tomorrow and a little bit of room to move if we need to adjust the chassis if things aren't going that well.
So, Tony, has Will let you have any green tyre running yet? Did he give you any new boots, or has he just hogged them all to his side of his part of the garage?
It's literally in my contract, TD, you'll never get green tyres as a co-driver, okay? No, look, they've given me a bit of confidence, given me some good tyres along the way. You know, I talked to a lot of other co-drivers, and it's really important for us to do laps. But if you're just driving around on old tyres, you're really just losing confidence and not achieving a lot. You know, you need to build our confidence as well over the weekend and make sure we go into Sunday, really on top of the car and know what it's going to be like when we have a good tyre on the car, know what to expect. So we just try and keep simulating that all weekend. High fuel, good tyre on it. No hero stuff, but you just want to be really in tune with it come Sunday.
So, oh goodness, they're settling the microphone.
Coxie's just getting his microphone, so he's very excited, by the way. This is Coxie's first one he's calling Tony, so you be gentle with him. He's got a question for you.
Hopefully you don't have a stuff up in the car like I just have in my microphone tomorrow, Tony. What does it look like now, particularly from a co-driver's perspective? Your car's not in the top 10 shootout, obviously. So from now until race start tomorrow, what's the program look like for you?
I mean, for me, obviously we're not in the shootout, so whether you're a co-driver, all co-drivers' roles now basically are the same. You know, we're just hanging around, making sure we're feeling prepped in terms of, if we need to get a bit more physio done or, debrief with engineers. We do a lot of signing sessions on the lead up to the event. So they really do fill up our schedules. But we do have blackout periods too where we can just chill in the motorhome, have the music on, try and forget about things for a little bit and just reconnect with family and friends as well and just enjoy the moment. So we've been fairly busy this afternoon doing signings and I was just in a debrief then. So I've just popped out for a few minutes just to have a chat to you guys. And then from there, have some good dinner. I want to try and get home early tonight and get some good rest.
So this is the big thing about this race. Why I like your lineup with you and Will. And Tony, you and I were there when the greatest of all races, and everyone talks about it, Chaz and Paul doing off the back of the grid. They're the exception, they're not the rule. But at the same time, many a favourite, many a pole position has gone begging before we've even got up the mountain. Experience is everything in this race, and we talk about that. But you, as someone who's extremely experienced, to an audience that goes out around Australia, this is an audience filled with footy fans that watch maybe one time a year. Why is experience so critical at the mountain?
I mean, it's a marathon, this race, not a sprint. You can't win it on the first lap, but you can definitely lose it. So our fearless leader, Dick Johnson, tells us that all the time. So, you know, they have a little bit more experience sometimes, a little bit of a cooler head when it comes to situations where, you know, you might be fighting for a position, but it's so early in the day that you can just, you know, give it up if you need to and live to fight another day. So it's just really important to obviously look after the car, make sure it's in good shape for the last sort of third of the race. So Will finish off the race. He'll do about 4 stints in a row. So my job is to make sure I hand it over to him. All the wheels are pointing in the right direction, and it's in good shape for him to bring it home. So we've seen some extraordinary races over the year where, you know, the not even the fastest cars won the race. They've done it on strategy. They've done it on just, you know, being calm and clever. So right now, I don't think we have the fastest car, but we're not far away either. So if you put us up the front, we're going to take some beating to get past.
Now, Tone, I know I'm going to let you go because to get you at this time of the day is unbelievable. Really, thank you, mate. You've finished on the podium a couple of times up there. The last one was back in 2023. You haven't got the win yet, but you are alongside a guy that's done it a couple of times. What is it in the back of your brain that is giving you confidence that you can finally stand on that top step? What is it that needs to be unlocked for you to finally get that elusive first Bathurst and make it 3 for Will?
Look, I mean, I really couldn't ask for a better main driver to be with. You know, someone that's won the race twice. So, as I was saying before, if I can give the car to him in a really good spot, there's only a couple out there that have won it more than him. And, you know, he rises to those occasions. He's done it twice before, and really he's done it tough as well, you know, those wins. Especially his last one there where he was holding off SVG right at the end of the race. It was a huge amount of pressure. So Will is extremely good under pressure, and I just know if we get the car up the front tomorrow, in any condition, he'll bring it home better than most.
Tony, we'll let you get back to that debrief. Thanks very much for joining us on SEN Supercars.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Tony D'Alberto, part of the Shell V-Power racing team alongside Will Davison this weekend. We'll start 14th tomorrow on the grid. Our grid partner is Rheem, proud sponsor of the Shell V-Power racing team. And as you pointed out there in that question, Cam, they are one of the more experienced combinations on the grid. I think all up, they're going for their 42nd race start when you combine their figures.
It's incredible when you look at the form those two have had. But I just, you know, as you look at it, Tony's been a main driver. He's been there and done it. He's raced all sorts of things. I've known him a very long time. We're very lucky that drivers are giving up their time for us. We're staying away. So the audience, why are we staying away from the top 10 shootout? Well, would we go and pick up the phone and call Patrick Dangerfield before he rolls out for a crack at the first quarter of a grand final? And essentially the top 10 shootout is that. So even the co-drivers are busy. You heard he's still in debriefs. Like, this is everything. They had 6 practice sessions. They've had 1 qualifying session, and tomorrow they get a warm-up and then they go racing for 6 hours. It's incredible. He has to do 60 laps. So he has to do more than a third of the race distance. And Tony's given up his time for us. We'll hear from Lee Holdsworth, another one that they came up together. And there's a reason that Tony, Lee Holdsworth, Mark Winterbottom, these sorts of drivers, Fabian Coulthard, they're still around. It's because experience is everything. And you can say you can't buy experience where you can. You just got to pay a lot of money to keep a Tony D'Alberto in your team.
And he's been with DJR for the better part of 10 years as well in various cars along that journey this year in the number 17 alongside Will Davison. The man that you referenced there, though, Lee Holdsworth, he's going to join us on the other side of this. You're listening to SEN Supercars, thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. Remember, you can share a text with us this afternoon, 0457 736 736. If you've got a question that you'd like to pose to Lee, we can be your avenue to do that this afternoon. Or if you've got any other observations as we head towards the top 10 shootout, that's just over half an hour away.
I just want to get pumped up, for the bass get loud.
The Isuzu Ute A-League kicks off October 17 on Paramount Plus.
I want energy, more passion.
Oh, it's a wonderful strike.
Every kick, every slide,
I want to see you jump just one more time.
every game live.
Let me see you jump just one more time.
Can you believe this?
The Isuzu Ute A-League kicks off October 17
Coming alive.
on Paramount Plus.
You top it. You shank it. You yell for a lot, but you keep coming back because there's never enough golf. At Golfbox, we get it. Save up to 40% off golf gear during our 40th anniversary sale. Golfbox. There's never enough golf.
Get the value you really want with Ford's great drive-away deals on a selection of vehicles across the range. Hurry, get to your participating local Ford dealer now while stocks last.
If delayed payments are putting a strain on your business, don't worry. With Octet's tailored working capital finance, you can keep your business cash flow flowing. Their invoice finance solution gives you quick access to up to 85% of your unpaid invoices as a cash advance without real estate security. To see how our innovative supply chain finance solutions could power your business, visit octet.com. That's OCTET.com. Lending criteria and conditions may apply.
Looking for a trusted mechanic who can expertly service your vehicle? At Repco Authorised Service, we've got you covered. Our nationwide network of independently owned workshops proudly use and recommend Penrite Oil, Australian family owned and operated for 100 years. From daily drives to cherished classics, Repco Authorised Service and Penrite can help keep your car running at its best. So no matter what you drive, book your next service online today at repcoservice.com. Repco Authorised Service, your local mechanic, backed by Repco.
G'day, Ray Hadley here for Bryden's Lawyers. Have you or a loved one been injured in an accident that was not your fault? Bryden's Lawyers understands the stress and uncertainty that comes with a personal injury claim. Whether it's a car accident, a slip, a fall, medical negligence, Bryden's Lawyers have the knowledge and expertise to help you recover the compensation you deserve. Call 1-800-848-848 today. Book an appointment online, brydens.com.au. Who helps you in your time of need? Bryden's Lawyers do.
Looking for the coolest deals in air conditioning? Come to Blue Star Air Conditioning for the coolest prices. Tradies gain access to exclusive offers and the best prices in Sydney on Australia's leading air conditioning brands. For best in business, the tradies' choice is always Blue Star Air Conditioning. For comfortable prices and comfortable results, drop by 202 Hume Highway, Lansvale, or visit bluestarac.com.au now.
You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Dan Dungan.
Welcome back to SEN Supercars, thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven, Australian owned, made since 1926. Matt Cox alongside Cam Van Den Dungan, and now we are joined by Lee Holdsworth, who is the co-pilot alongside David Reynolds in car number 20 this weekend. Lee, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for having me on, boys.
Lethal, Cam Van Den Dungan here, mate. Thank you. I know it's a very busy time for you, although we just spoke to Tony D'Alberto before. I said probably not as busy as you'd like to be right now, but, mate, how special to be back at the mountain for another year.
Oh, it's always special to be back here. It is it's just a really, really incredible track and an incredible place. As soon as we roll in, that's a big week. We're here on the Monday, and the whole town gets right behind it. It's so cool. But this track just holds so much history. And as a driver, you know, you have all those memories and flashbacks of the legends like Peter Brock and, you know, Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton, Mark Scape, all those guys, those names, household names that this is the place that made those names. So it's pretty cool to put your name up on that trophy, and then once you've done it once, you want to do it again.
Oh, mate, and you're only Dave, I should say, was only 4/10 off pole, and yet you're outside the top 10 shootout. That is ridiculous when you think about it. When you looked at the time that he did you think it was going to be good enough to get in the 10, or you're like, are you pulling your hair out? Well, I'm not going to say pulling your hair out, Lethal. That's terrible of me to do that to you, mate. Well, hey, I play golf with this guy. He hits a very long ball too, Coxie.
There's the square up.
Yeah, no, don't worry. He's a very good golfer as well. But, mate, are you as shocked as the rest of us at the speed and how close it is at the top?
Yeah, I'm really shocked at how close the whole top 10 is. I mean, if you were, I think it's the top 6 or something are separated by less than 1/10 of a second. So if you're on the wrong side of a tenth, you nearly slip out of the 10. So it's just incredible how I think that's the closest top 10 shootout. The closest qualifying for the top 10 that I've ever seen. But yeah, unfortunately, Dave had a little bit of a moment going up over the top, and fortunately didn't put it in the wall. But unfortunately, it meant that we lost a couple of tenths on his lap, and we would have been in the top 10. So when he did the 4-4, we were 4 tenths off. I knew it wasn't going to be enough. But geez, like any other year, if you're 4 tenths off, you're probably guaranteed a spot in the top 10 shootout. So it's just stupidly close, and it's going to be an amazing spectacle for the top 10 shootout today.
And for the race tomorrow, given that you're teaming up with someone that you've worked with in the past in Dave Reynolds, but even your engineer, Richard Holway, there's a bit of history between the three of you. How good is it when you walk into a new environment to have those familiar faces alongside of you?
Oh, it's really cool. I'm so happy to be back with Dave. We were teammates in 2022. We've never driven in the same car together, but we've been around each other for a long time in the sport, had some good battles, but now we're in the same car. So we're really enjoying it. Familiar people and people that he's a mate of mine, so it's cool to team up. And then, of course, having Richard Holway, who was my engineer in 2010 and 2011. It's a bloody long time ago, but it doesn't feel that long ago. So it's awesome to have him on our side too. And the three of us get on like a house on fire. And then, of course, you've got a great team around us as well in Team 18 and the Tradie Energy side of the garage. We're just enjoying ourselves, and we know that we've got a job to do tomorrow. The long race. We need to keep a cool head, and we have enough experience to realise that we've got to be there at the end on the lead lap, fighting, hopefully fighting for the win.
And you've won it before. Dave Reynolds has won it before. Yours was only a couple of years ago now, mate, 2021. You've been on the podium early on in your career as well. So what was it, back in 2009? So what a journey that's been. You first rolled up there in 05 with a DNF. You're on a podium a few years later, and then it takes you up till 2021 to get a race win. With all that experience, do you have any confidence or belief that you two can get this job done? And if so, what is it going to take for the tradie entry to be standing on the top step, and where the two of you can make it two-time Bathurst winners?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wouldn't be here if I didn't think that we could win this race. So, I don't want to just be making up numbers as a co-driver. You want to make sure that you're competitive and you're giving the team what they wanted in an experienced co-driver. And the co-drivers these days need to be as fast as the main drivers. So it's our job to put it all on the line, but not crash, not overstep the mark. And that's a difficult job as a co-driver. I don't think I appreciated how much pressure there was on the coes when I was driving main as a main driver. So.
Can you expand on that? Because we hear that a lot, and I think for our listeners to understand what you mean, because we've got a big footy audience, mate. We've got a lot of people that literally tune in, like Melbourne Cup. They watch Melbourne Cup every year. That's the time they put their bets on, and they watch the Bathurst 1000. Just expand on what you mean by the pressure on a co-driver. What is there for you?
Well, you come in and you're contracted to do 2 rounds of the year. There's 14 rounds in the year, and so you're driving for another driver's championship. You're driving for another team's championship, and you're expected to be as quick as the main driver, or very close, but you are expected not to risk anything at the same time. So, you know, you've got to hand it back to the main driver in a good position. And to do that, you know, sometimes you do have to take some risks. But we look like dickheads if we end up in the fence or you know, end up in a gravel trap. So there's huge pressure, and you really feel that. And you know, most of the co-drivers will start the race, and that's one of the highest risk part of the race that you'll see, apart from the end. So, you know, when everyone's bunched up, you got to navigate your way through on those first few laps, try and keep out of trouble. But also, it's a great time to make up positions as well when everyone's, you know, in a big bunch. So we're expected to have a crack, but we would be in the naughty corner if we had a mishap. So that's what I mean by, you know, you're expected. It's just high pressure, and there are some drivers out there, some co-drivers that are trying to help their main driver get into the you know, the final series for the rest of this championship. And so, you know, you make a mistake and you put your driver out of the finals, and you know, you're not seen in a good light. So fortunately for our car, for Dave, you know, we're putting it all on the line here. We don't have anything to lose. Unfortunately, Dave's out of you know, contention to be in the final series, which is, you know, for anyone listening at home, that means you're in the top 10 of the championship come, you know, the following round after this, and it's all to play for the championship out of those top 10 guys.
Lee, just to expand on the in-race dynamic between the co-drivers, how difficult is it to get comfortable in someone else's car? Have you got a seat insert with you? The driver change itself, these cars are a lot smaller than they used to be as well. How difficult is that, and how much does that play into how smoothly the race runs?
You tend to become accustomed to the car pretty quickly. You know, there are some compromises with your seating position. I've got a small insert. The last few years I've had a crazy large insert driving with Chaz Moster because he's a fair bit taller than me. But Dave is only a few centimetres taller than me, so I just need a little booster just to see over the steering wheel. And but yeah, there's always your little compromises. But yeah, I feel pretty, you know, at one with the car at the moment. And then there's, of course, little things that you like in the setup, maybe different to another driver as well. But Dave and I think probably growing up in, you know, starting supercars and coming through the different generation cars, we've probably got a fairly similar driving style. So it's all working well for us between the two of us to, you know, he goes out there, tunes the car up, and knows that it's going to be better for me, and then you know, vice versa. It's the same thing when I go out there and tune the car up for Dave. You know that he's going to like what you've done as well, if it's positive. So we're fortunate, and yeah, there's probably a few that have to make bigger compromises than us.
Lee, before I let you go, mate, I've known you a very, very long time, back through Formula Ford and Commodore Cup. 20 years, mate, 2005 to 2025, this journey at Bathurst. Do you ever, and Coxie and I were just talking about off air because he hasn't been to the mountain before, and it's like, I said, it's a feeling, isn't it? Do you ever just think back to the kid that was running around Commodore Cup and Formula Ford and just realise now, and has it really struck you just the career you've had there, mate?
Yeah, not often, but sometimes I do sit back and go, man, I can't believe there was once upon a time I was watching these cars go around on telly when I was a young kid, and it was just a dream, an absolute dream to get here one day. And now I think this is my 22nd Bathurst 1000 this year, and I've been fortunate enough to win it, be on the podium. So you do have to pinch yourself sometimes and go, wow, it's pretty incredible that I've been able to win it. You know, it took me 18 attempts, but I finally got there a few years back, and but I'm still doing it, and I'm 42 years old, and I hope I've got a few more years left in me. I think I was seeing a stat the other day. I think I've done the 5th or 6th most Bathurst of anyone that's ever been around here. So I feel very fortunate, and I'm going to. I will not take it for granted for these, the remaining part of my career.
I don't think you're going anywhere other than to your car to get ready for tomorrow's race. Lethal Lee, thank you so much, mate. You are very quickly becoming the new Luffy, aren't you, mate? You just got to get as many podiums as the big fella. Thank you, Lee. I'll let you go and enjoy the top 10 shootout from wherever you're watching, mate. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks very much, guys, for having me on. Cheers.
Lee Holdsworth there speaking with us ahead of the Bathurst 1000 tomorrow, but more pressingly for us, the top 10 shootout. Both Dave and Lee tomorrow will be starting from 15th on the grid. And as you pointed out, Cam, during that interview, the fact that they were so close to making the top 10, this is how tight things are at the top of the tree. They were so close on getting into the top 10 and yet so far away. 15th. They're 4/10 off the provisional poll. 4/10. So that is a fraction, not even half a second, and they're 15th. That is how close it was. Now, unbelievable guy. Really lucky that we had him on there. And it was great for him to, as I heard, he's a winner, and he's alongside another winner. I think you can't sleep on them either. I think they'll be in the mix. So how important is it to, when we look at experience, so the two drivers that we've just spoken to are part of very experienced combinations that know the mountain very well, know how to be fast around there, know how to generate a good result. When you're coming from so far back, how important is it to have the experienced combinations like those, or to have the raw youngster, up-and-coming, willing to prove the point like we're going to see in the shootout in the not-too-distant future with Cooper Murray, who's there for the first time as a full-time driver this year. He was in the wildcard entry last year with Craig Lowndes. They were on for a promising result, had a bit of a hiccup late in the race, fell out of the top 10. He's been doing a few nice things so far this year. Was on target for a 2:03 yesterday before running a little wide in the final turn. The raw, just the guts, the young and youthful vibrance that comes through compared to the old mature heads.
Can I answer both? Can I say both? Because the reality is the 1000 is about minimising mistakes. 6 hours, 161 laps, 1,000 kilometres of racing. For me, the big challenge is minimising mistakes. And that's where experience buys you the best chance to make the minimal mistakes, but it does not eliminate mistakes. So if you are a young, ridiculously quick young driver that makes no mistakes, happy days. But the reality is if you're a team boss, you have spent millions, and I mean literally millions to get a car there. Are you going to hand it over to a 17-year-old kid that wants to prove themselves to the world? Or are you going to get a Lee Holdsworth that you know is going to bring the car back on the lead lap and hand over to your main driver to get a result? And that is why they err on the side of the more experienced drivers, because when you roll the dice in the gamble that is the Bathurst 1000, you want to try and take out the highs and lows.
You certainly do, and that's why it is the endurance event. If you can last all day, and as Cam pointed out, not have the mistakes, that will get you over the line, probably in a pretty comfortable position. 0457 736 736. You can join in the conversation with us this afternoon as we prepare for the top 10 shootout that isn't too far away. The Super 2 race has just concluded. It was race 2 of the weekend for them. Ryland Gray has finished first ahead of Nash Morris and Lockie Dalton. Brad Vaughan, who's also in the Bathurst 1000 field, finishing fourth for Brad Jones Racing. So a couple of the up-and-comers that are going to be participating in the big race tomorrow, doing quite well this weekend in Super 2. We do have to point out that this is the older generation car. So they're going from completely different cars, completely different setups, completely different aerodynamics. Having to juggle that all weekend has been a task.
It's certainly a task to be at the absolute millimetre precision when you're trying to jump into both cars, but at the end of the day, it's still a big V8. You've got to be very patient on the throttle. You get a good read on the track conditions, as we see Ryland Gray getting out of the car. He is a great young man, Ryland Gray. When he first came to our attention in the paddock, as I said, it was through the Medickies that put me onto him. And I've known George Medicki he's another one of the old guard that came up through the ranks with the Lee Holdsworth of the world. And he said, this kid's a jet. We believe in him. We're bringing him through our Ford program. The Ford Mustang in GT4 spec, the first place it got a podium, the first place it got a pole was in Australia in the GT4 Championship, and it was that young driver, Rylan Gray, that was alongside George Medici getting it all done. So it's wonderful to see him now in Super 2 and also in the main game. But back to your point about the two types of cars, there's a lot to be gained from miles. A lot to be gained from miles at this track. Even if it's a generation-old car, it's close enough that it's just more kilometres. And there's been, back in my earlier days when I used to run the CAMS Rising Star program for what is now Motorsport Australia, and we were doing talent identification, we used to always say there is no substitute for miles. There is no substitute. So the more time they can spend in a car at Bathurst, I don't care what car it is, the better they'll be when they jump in the main game.
You know how to respect the mountain, and that is part of getting a good result at the end of the day. Our presenting partner here on SEN Supercars is Tyre Power. Tyre Power, great race sale now on. Save on Kumho tyres. Visit your local Tyre Power today. We're building up towards the top 10 shootout. It's about 15 minutes away from kicking off, so we'll preview it next here on SEN Supercars, thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven.
Take a break at Metro Petroleum and enjoy a Mr. Whippy ice cream cup. Try the limited edition bubblegum flavour. Creamy, colourful and fun. Available only for a limited time. Looking for the perfect treat? Nestle Share Bars and Killer Pythons single serve have got you covered. Grab 2 Share Bars 60 to 80 grams for $7 or 2 Killer Pythons single serve for $3. Available now at all participating Metro Petroleum locations. October 1st to 31st.
Here's Carl Faze with the Daily Nudge.
Watching the replays of Karen McCann win the 2006 Commonwealth Games gold medal for the marathon is inspiring. What we missed, though, in watching the finish was the bit in between. McCann ran shoulder to shoulder with a 22-year-old African runner and only at the very end surged forward to win. The Bible tells the story of Abraham in the Old Testament, who God told to move to a new country and promised to make him a great nation. Abraham had no children at this stage. He followed God's instructions and is talked about as a man of faith. What we forget is the bit in between. Abraham struggled to trust. He made mistakes. He questioned God. The end of Abraham's story is just like Karen McCann winning gold. A great finish. But let's not lose sight of the bit in between. The struggle and the striving, which is where the battles of life are won and character is built.
Carl Faze for dailynudge.org.
Get what you really want with a great drive-away deal on select Ford Ranger models, like the Ranger Black Edition, model year 26, from $55,000 drive-away for ABN holders. Recommended price at participating dealers while stocks last.
Your garage door, is it as safe as it should be? And does it look as nice as it could? Ours is, and does, because it's from DeVille Garage Doors. They're the Sutherland Shire's family-owned garage experts for 30 years. From design and installation to service and repairs, installing reliable, safe and beautiful doors from B&D Garage Doors and Signature Garage Doors. Transform your home with DeVille Garage Doors. Visit devilledoors.com.au.
It's the race that's worth $1 million. Australia's fastest chasers do battle in the world's richest free entry greyhound race. The Ladbrokes $1 Million Chase. Wentworth Park, Friday, October 17.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
With Officeworks for Business, save 5% on thousands of business essentials and access bulk buy prices. Get what you need fast with 2-hour click and collect or same-day delivery. Sign up for free to Officeworks for Business today. T's and C's apply.
You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Den Dungen.
We're building up towards the top 10 shootout of the Bathurst 1000 coming your way on SEN Supercars thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. The starting order for the top 10 shootouts, which is partnering us thanks to Rheem, Australia's favourite hot water and proud sponsor of the Shell V-Power racing team. So first out in the shootout after qualifying 10th yesterday will be Thomas Randall from the Castrol Racing side of the Tickford Garage. Nick Percat will be next out in the Bendix Racing entry. His teammate Cam Hill will be the third car out on track after qualifying in 8th. Cam Waters in the Monster Racing entry will be out next after qualifying 7th yesterday. Chaz Mostert in 6th in the first of the Walkinshaw and Andretti United cars, the Mobil 1 Optus Racing entry. Cooper Murray, who we've already spoken a little bit about today, he will come out after qualifying in 5th position. Then it's Anton De Pasquale, Ryan Wood, Brock Feeney and Brodie Kostecki will be the final car out after qualifying in the provisional pole position for the top 10 shootout today at Mount Panorama, all thanks to Rheem, a proud sponsor of the Shell V-Power racing team. Of those names there, Cam, who is going to be the biggest surprise, do you feel, when you look at the list of drivers there? They've all got some great calibre. Obviously, we spoke before.
Run through a couple then, shall we? Because I'm going to avoid your question by answering it with more information. Because, to be honest with you, there are a number of drivers in there, but none of them shock me that they're in there. There's probably a couple that shock me that didn't make it, but there's none in there that shock me that I think will do something out of the ordinary. Some stories I really like leading into this. Nick Percat has announced his retirement. And here he is. I was shocked by that. Most of the industry, most of the category was shocked by Nick Percat retiring at not a very old age. He's going to be in the top 10 shootout, second car out, as you mentioned before. I think there's a lovely story in that, so I'd like to see, and, you know, we write our stories as sports broadcasters. What are some of the things we'd like to see? Start from the first guy out, Thomas Randall. It's his first time. First time in a top 10 shootout. He's a ridiculously good human being. I work with him on a number of other broadcasts for the SEN Network and a few others. Thomas recently and myself, he came, picked me up from my house. We went to the airport together. We held each other's hands on the plane. We drove in the hire car together at Tailem Bend. The whole weekend together, and I cannot express how much of a good human being he is. He showed vulnerability when he messaged me last night. It was really nice. I'd like to see him go really well, but that's probably a personal thing. Nick Percat I've known for a very long time, since he was a young Formula 4 driver out of South Australia. Really good story there. Cam Hill, Cam Waters. Cam Waters is the up-and-comer that is still up-and-coming, that is very much highly regarded. The Monster Castrol Racing entry, it'd be lovely to see something from him. Chaz Mostert, he's the people's champ. He genuinely is, for me, a guy that the sport, regardless of their tribalism and who they follow, they love seeing Chaz go well. I'm running through all the names here. I'm not going to do all of them, but because we've got to give ourselves some room. Can you tell I'm getting excited? We're 9 minutes away from first car out on track.
And can I tell everyone, you haven't had an ounce of sugar yet?
No, that's a worry. That is a huge worry for everybody. But what we'll do is we'll talk about Cooper Murray, because he's the one that's the wild card in the pack. Showed pace. You and I talked about it earlier. You know, he's unbelievably quick. I just love the fact that he said, I'm putting it all on the line and I'm having a crack. The experienced broadcaster in me that's done that many Bathursts over the journey says that is a recipe for disaster. When you call your shot in motorsport, this morning on the broadcast, and I'm a massive tragic, so I was watching it every second of it. They had this wonderful moment. They had Mark Scaife on the couch with Garth Tander, Craig Lowndes and Greg Murphy, and Jesse Yates was having the chat with them. And I think it was Garth Tander said, "The mountain taketh, but it also giveth." And if you go in there with too much confidence, that is the day it taketh. And I remember Jason Richards, the late Jason Richards, who was an absolute star, lost his battle with cancer many years ago, never forgotten by the paddock. I remember him doing something very similar and fencing it. I remember Bargs doing something similar in a warm-up. I just don't know what's going to happen. That's why I love Bathurst. It is why I love Bathurst.
And so the link between Cooper Murray and Brodie Kostecki. Cooper's in Brodie's car from last year. The Chico Roll entry, which they're back being the stickers applied.
Can we get a couple of Chico Rolls for the broadcast tomorrow? We've got to organise that, don't we?
That's out there to try and sort that out for tomorrow afternoon. Hopefully
it wouldn't be a Bathurst broadcast without some Chico Rolls. No. It's great to see the Chico car out there, but no, spot on. It just tells you don't lose the speed in the car. Bathurst isn't about single lap speed, other than this next shootout. That is it. And even then, it's not about trying to get yourself up to speed and doing it. You roll out, you get one lap, and then it's your chance to put it somewhere in the top 10. So do you go slightly conservative to bank a time and guarantee you're going to be there? Do you put it all out and risk it for the biscuit, as they would say? Or is it just you get your car in the window at the right time, a little bit of cloud cover, and that is enough for your pole position?
And then the other two stories I'll highlight as well. Brock Feeney, he hasn't put a foot wrong this year. His team did the last round at the Bend, which meant that they finished well down the order there. But in terms of pole positions this season, race wins. He won the Sprint Cup that gives him automatic qualification for the finals, which, for those that are unaware, tune in tomorrow because that'll be one of our talking points as the race unfolds. We'll have live coverage from 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time tomorrow as well. So look forward to you jumping on the wireless at that point. But Brock Feeney, hardly a blemish this year. He'll come out as the second last car. And then Brodie Kostecki, we referenced it off at the top of our broadcast today, going for 3 pole positions in a row to join some illustrious names. Alan Moffat, Peter Brock have won 3 in a row. No one's ever done it, though, 3 times in a shootout capacity. He has the opportunity to do that today with a new team, but he's got the same engineer, same co-driver. There's a few other bits and pieces that have come across from Erebus with him, including the chassis of the car as well, which is another complicated situation. But he is in prime position this afternoon to go back to back for pole positions.
So I do see it as a Brock Feeney versus Brodie Kostecki for pole. Then I say, but we probably could consider Chaz in the mix there, and then maybe put Cam Waters in there as well. But any of them could. Having said that, let's stick with the top 2 because they're probably the heavyweights that we talk about. We've mentioned Brodie Kostecki. We've given some numbers there. Brock Feeney, for those that aren't across it, or if you are and you're like, why are you not giving more love to Red Bull and 888? They get plenty of love as it is because they've had 12 race wins this year. Brock Feeney won the Adelaide 500 in 2022, Sandown 500 in 2023. You mentioned he's the Repco Sprint Cup winner this year. He was the Dunlop Super 2 Series winner in 2021. Incredible form. He is dominating this championship this year. But as Lee Holdsworth mentioned, and we haven't covered it yet, there is something else, and I'll probably spend more time tomorrow talking about it as we begin the 5-minute countdown to getting the first of our cars out on track. As Lee Holdsworth mentioned, this is the final round before we lock it away and start finals. Finals means the top 10 in the championship at the end of this weekend. Reset the points and go again for the back end of the year. So that is a big part of the story. Brock Feeney's already in it, but I'm excited to see what unfolds for the next 24 hours.
So as we clear our final commitment before the top 10 shootout this afternoon, your tip for pole position, please, Cam.
I'm not giving you one. I'm going to say Sport's going to be the winner. Okay, all right. You're putting me on the. I'll ask you first quickly. We've got to go to the break.
Well,
who you got?
I've already declared it earlier in the week on air. I reckon Cam Waters will get pole.
Cam Waters. Well, I'm going Brodie Kostecki back to back. He's going the 3-time.
It's up next, the top 10 shootout here on SEN Supercars, thanks to Penrite Oil. 100 years still driven.
I hear it a lot. If only there was an accountant who got tradies. Well, actually, there's Latitude Accountants, the small business accountant whose mission is to help small businesses understand the numbers and manage their tax. And Latitude Accountants really get tradies. Sure, they're recognised experts in xero and tax, but they're also tradies' mates and passionate footy fans. Let Latitude Accountants do the counting for you. ABN holders, book your no-obligation consultation at latitudeaccountants.com.au.
Get what you really want with a great drive-away deal on select Ford Ranger models, like the Ranger Black Edition, model year 26, from 55k drive-away for ABN holders. Recommended price at participating dealers while stocks last.
Razorback 4x4 seat covers, the perfect protection, comfort and style for your four-wheel drive interior. They're perfectly tailored to fit like a glove, keeping your seats safe from spills, mud and everyday mess. They're easy to clean, super comfy to sit on, and they look the part too. With a range range of materials and colours to choose from, free shipping across Australia, and thousands of 5-star reviews, it's no wonder four-wheel drive owners everywhere are choosing Razorback. Protect your pride and joy. Check out razorback4x4.com.au today.
You top it. You shank it. You yell for a lot, but you keep coming back because there's never enough golf. At Golf Box, we get it. Save up to 40% off golf gear during our 40th anniversary sale. Golf Box. Never enough golf.
Melbourne has an experience for everyone, and the best place to experience it from is Brady Hotels. With central Melbourne locations, each Brady Hotel is steps away from Melbourne's best shopping, dining, sports and entertainment. And Brady Hotels lets you stay and experience Melbourne your own way. Choose from rooms or apartments that are perfect for short or extended stays with the flexibility to suit work or play. So experience Melbourne with Brady Hotels. Book now at bradyhotels.com.au.
Milwaukee's not just for plumbers tackling yet another block drain. Electricians facing massive wiring jobs. Mechanics fixing that snapped bolt before knock-off. Or carpenters putting that last nail in the frame. It's for everyone in the trade. Not just for today or tomorrow. Forever. Milwaukee. Forever for the trade.
Are you over 65 and receiving care through a government home care package but feel like you don't get enough hours or consistent service? Switch to Right at Home. We're an approved provider of home care packages and the only fees we charge are directly related to your care. Right at Home manage your care without package management fees, so you have more money to use on your support and we organise it all for you. We deliver private pay care too. For a free assessment, call Right at Home on 1300 363 802 or visit rightathome.com.au.
You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Den Dungen.
Top 10 shootout time at Mount Panorama. This is SEN Supercars thanks to Penrite Oil. 100 years still driven, Australian owned and made since 1926. And Cam, Tom Randall has fired up the Castrol Mustang, preparing for his first ever time to do the one lap around the 6.12 kilometre street circuit, essentially, is what it is. The Sunday Drive is what it was originally built for, and most days of the year, that's what the track is, open to the public. But this weekend it's shut as Thomas heads out onto the track.
So he heads off now for the warm-up lap. He gets one last check of the track before he starts his lap in earnest. Massive crowd here at the Mountain for what is going to be an exciting top 10 shootout. If you're just joining us on SEN, this is where each of the top 10 from yesterday's qualifying get one lap. The fastest of this session will be on pole position for tomorrow's Bathurst 1000. They come out in reverse order. So Thomas Randall, he has James Moffat alongside him as his co-driver. He finished 10th yesterday, was just a couple of tenths off the pace and found himself inside the top 10. It's his first ever top 10 shootout. I'm incredibly excited for this young man. 29 years old from Melbourne. He is a star of the future, but he's here right now. 2020 Dunlop Super 2 Series champion. I first got to know him when he came through the Formula 4 Championship in Australia. He finished second, headed off to Europe for a little while, and then he's come back and making his name in supercars as part of the Tickford outfit.
Best ever qualifying, 11th in 2023. So whatever he does in the top 10 shootout, he will surpass that feat. Finished his best finish at the Mountain at 7th in 2021. Last year finished 11th, co-driving with Tyler Everingham after qualifying at 19th. So he has the Mountain all before him as the first driver. The weather conditions, it's sunny. There's no cloud cover, which will play an issue. The shadows on the road at this time of day, though, do create an issue, particularly as you head up towards the cutting.
So there's a couple of spots where the sun really gets in your eyes and it's hard to see. Up into the cutting is a spot, but I can tell you, as you come up the front straight, the pit straight as well, the sun, especially right at the end of the day, can get right into your eyes. Hard to see. But this is his last chance to have a sighter out on track. So he's heading on out around the second. I'll just have a look on my track map to see where he's located right now. He's taking his time as he heads down Conrod, heading to the chase to get this lap underway. It's been a good year for him. He's had a pole position at Symmons Plains earlier this year. He's carrying a lot of confidence into this weekend, but what he said to me last night was, I'm just going to enjoy the moment. I am going to savour this.
He certainly is. All right, here he comes, heading down to the final turn to start his hot lap. The top 10 shootout at Bathurst is underway.
A little bit loose on the exit of the final turn, but he gets a good run up, and he will be setting the benchmark time. Will Thomas Randall through Hell Corner. Turns in slightly skinny, but a good exit. It gets a little loose up on the ripple strip on the exit. That's going to cost him up Mountain Straight. There's a big hump up the middle. The car gets loose. It feels like you're driving in an aquaplane scenario about now. Grabs another gear, does Tom Randall. And he heads on up now. This is a critical component. Gets under the trees, into the shade. That's a good exit on his way up towards the cutting. And on our broadcast, you can see the sun just starting to get into the eyes. It feels like you need twice the horsepower to get up the mountain, through the cutting all the way out to the edge. We'll get that first sector time from him very shortly. This will be the benchmark first sector all the way out to the wall. Commitment plus from Tom Randall, a 51.094 for the first sector. That is the new benchmark time. This year they'll be running the soft compound tyre throughout the race. Beautiful up over the top. Let's see if he can hold it coming back down the mountain. He's committed on this one, is Tom Randall. You mentioned before, do you want to be the young guy that puts it on the line? Look at that, right to the wall as he makes his way down to Forest's Elbow. He's finished the top of the mountain, sector 2. What is it? A 1:24.042, but it's a 32.9 for the sector itself. Wonder whether that little bit of looseness at turn 1 is going to cost him. Down Conrod, you get light again, you lose the feeling of the steering wheel. Commits, heavy on the brakes down into the chase. Look at the positioning on track. Can he get it through the chase? He's done well here. This is a tidy first lap, a little bit of a wiggle on the exit. Heading down to Murray's now, and we'll look for the time. You'll be hoping it's into the low 204s. He comes across the line. What's he done for us? A 204.7. So a solid lap to start. The team clap in the garage. I think the major impact will be that first turn. He got a bit loose on the exit to start the lap, and then also the exit of turn 1. They're showing the replay now on the broadcast. He just lights it up. And that would have cost him a couple of tenths, which actually hurts by the end of Mountain Straight. Coming back down the mountain. Look at the commitment here, just opposite locking. It looks untidy, but I can tell you that's the quick way back down the mountain.
And he's lucky that he didn't go too far over to the left coming through the SS, because otherwise that could have disrupted him in all sorts of ways. So,
well, once you do that, so what you saw there, for those that aren't seeing the broadcast, if you're out on your mower or in the car, he's over Skyline, he's come down, he's lifted a wheel, got a bit wrong-footed. If you are even a millimetre wrong through there, you can be fired into the wall. So exactly right, Coxie.
Nick Percat is up next in the Bendix entry, the second car out on track. A winner back in 2011. It was his rookie start that year alongside Garth Tander in the Holden Racing Team Commodore. It's his final time as a full-time driver after announcing his retirement during the week. He's in the Matt Stone Racing Camaro as he comes through the chase on his warm-up lap. Here he goes, Cam. Nick Percat
makes his way down to Murray's, just puts a last little wiggle of heat into the tyres. Let's watch his exit through the final turn. It's tidier than Tom Randall's. That's a good exit. That's going to give him a good run up pit straight here. It's all about the exit through Hell Corner. We ride on board with him. Good exit opposite lock, a bit like Thomas Randall as well. That hurts as you head up the mountain. It's a big run. You're grabbing the gears. He's staying close to the right-hand side of the track. He's trying to get minimal UV. UV hurts. And he turns on in. Heading up the mountain. Running all the way out to the edge of the ripple strip. Into the sun, up towards the cutting now. He's up against that 51.0. That's the time to beat for the first sector. For Nick Percat, the man that announced his retirement. Thomas Randall with the benchmark time has got in the books, a bit of a wiggle, and he's down on Thomas Randall by nearly a tenth and a half. And maybe that opposite lock also hurt him. We can hear them over the top of the mountain. McPhillamy, it's so fast all the way out to the exit. The next time to beat here is a 32.94, which was set again by Tom Randall. It's tidy from Nick. It's not overly spectacular, though. The 24.0 is the time to beat. Makes his way through Forest Elbow, and he's still down. So they've been line ball over the top. Still 0.13 of a second. Let's see on the way back down the mountain. It was faster than Thomas over the top, but only fractionally. In fact, it was about, 7 thousandths of a second difference over the top. Down towards the chase. He doesn't use as much track as Tom. Pulls it up nicely, does Nick Percat. Misses his apex slightly, but he's carried good speed. So the time he's trying to beat, a 204.7354. He's been down at both sectors. I think he'll be down at the end of this one as he made it up in the final sector. No, he hasn't, and he's lost more time, a 205.4, and I think the commitment of Thomas is already showing. 2 drivers in.
It is. He looked good across the top, did Nick Percat, but again, that mistake coming out of turn 1 as we get a look at it on the replay at the moment. Entered the corner okay, but then the car slides and cops a little bit of the dirt over the top of the strip. And then even deep into the final turn, he's actually locked up. We're in car on the footage as he rounded the final turn, but a lock up for Nick Percat has cost him. So currently sits P2 behind Thomas Randall. Randall's time 204.735. Nick Percat 205.429.
He didn't have the confidence in the car. You actually noticed on turn-in, just as he got into it, he actually lost the front end. So he had a bit of push, had to then commit to the corner and got the rear go on him. So the balance of the car wasn't there. Over the top, though, he was a jet. He was actually quicker than Thomas through Sector 2, which is the tough one. But the problem is, you got these 2 long straights, up the mountain and back down the mountain. If you don't get that drive, it can cost you dearly. So, Thomas Randall, he's moved up 1 spot. He's at least going to be 9th.
Our presenting partner here on SEN Supercars is Tyre Power, always on the podium with Kumho Tyres. Cam Hill now has the track to himself. A winner earlier this year at Albert Park during the Grand Prix round in the shootout for his first time, Cam.
So Cameron Hill, good exit, nice and tidy. Let's see if he can get turn 1 better than the last 2 drivers. So Cameron Hill turns in. It's the exit that's important. That's tidy up. Millimetre perfect from Cameron Hill, the 2021 Porsche Carrera Cup Australia champion. He's also been a winner of the Bathurst 6 Hour back in 2022. Heads up the mountain. Let's see. Down the gears. Turns in with a great angle for us riding on board. A little bit of opposite lock, a bit of correction, but it looks tidy. So remember, he's got to beat the 51.09 of Thomas Randall up through the cutting. And he had a little bit of opposite lock, so maybe committed too much to the apex. Let's look at this split time. He's up against the 51.09. Is he up? He's away from it, but only 0.08 of a second. So Thomas Randall still the fastest first sector. Out to the great, nearly runs it into the wall, does Cameron Hill. Up over the top, let's look through McPhillamy. Tidy, gets across. This is going to open up the run down the mountain for Cameron Hill. Nice, tidy line, hugs the curb, gets it rotated. Let's have a look at the split here. It'll be around Forest Elbow by the time we look at the comparison. Nick Percat was the fastest up over the top so far. The 24.0 is the time to beat. He's away. He's slightly quicker than Thomas over the top, but still 0.06 of a second away from the benchmark time to the end of the second sector by Thomas Randall. Cameron Hill heading down Conrod Straight. This is where Thomas ran a 40.6 versus a 41.2 for Nick Percat. Gets it stopped at the chase. Rotates nicely. Chev Camaro power trying to knock over the Ford Mustang. Watch for the time. He's up against the 204.7. It's been a good final sector, but not enough. Thomas Randall still holds that provisional pole, and Cameron Hill just misses out. He's ahead of Nick Percat, though.
So Randall first, Hill second, Percat third. We'll take a break here on SEN Supercars and be back with more from the Top 10 Shootout.
G'day, Ray Hadley here for Bryden's Lawyers. Are you suffering from an injury that was not your fault? At Bryden's Lawyers, we understand the challenges you face. Their team of experienced personal injury lawyers will protect your needs and provide guidance and support every step of the way. For a risk-free, no-obligation assessment of your claim, contact Bryden's Lawyers today on 1-800-848-848 or visit brydens.com.au. Who helps you in your time of need? Bryden's Lawyers do.
A Kogan fan is just like a fan. Both fans do very similar fan things, but with slightly different little logos, shapes, and chords. One fan's a Kogan Smarter Home Heating and Cooling Bladeless Purifier fan. The other fan has a price you will not be a fan of. Get what you want for less. Shop Kogan.com today. Kogan.com. Clickin' awesome.
Whatever your ambition, own it. Search Loan Market and make it yours. Kelly's ambition, to make it cool.
My new car.
Laura and Judd's ambition, to make it home.
Getting finance for our first apartment.
Your local loan market brokers are ready to get to work. With access to over 90 banks and lenders, they can compare thousands of loan options to find a solution tailored to your needs.
Make it yours.
Whatever your ambition, find the right loan for you. Search Loan Market.
Loan Market. Make it yours.
Australian credit licence 390222.
Hello, I'm Dr. Lynn Burmeister, Medical Director and owner of Number One Fertility. Your fertility journey is important. That's why I personally see patients for their initial bulk build consultation. We offer science-backed treatments alongside wellness services, so every part of your journey is cared for. Whether you're exploring egg freezing, IVF or fertility testing, we provide personalised care that is inclusive, compassionate and evidence-based. Find us at York Street in the Sydney CBD. Book your consultation at numberonefertility.com.
G'day, it's Vossi here. AHS Group is your local case construction partner with 6 branches across New South Wales and a huge range of case machines in stock and ready for immediate delivery. AHS Group has you covered wherever you're working. Right now, you can pick up amazing deals on excavators, loaders and backhoes, perfect for businesses, councils and independent operators across the state. Drop into your local AHS Group dealer to find out more or visit ahsgroup.com.au.
Electricity. That's useful. Gas. That's also useful. Internet. That's always useful. Saving money when you bundle. That's even more useful. Simplifying customer service. That's super useful. An app that puts you in control. Undoubtedly useful. Perks and rewards for being one of us. That's extra useful. A company that does all this and more. That's all kinds of useful. Origin. All kinds of useful.
You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Den Dungen.
Live action from the Top 10 Shootout at Mount Panorama. Currently, it is Thomas Randall in provisional pole. Cam Hill second, Nick Percat third. Cam Waters is out on the track commencing his warm-up lap. Matthew Cox alongside Cameron Van Den Dungen for the SEN Supercars coverage of the Bathurst 1000 Top 10 Shootout. Thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. He's been on pole twice here, Cam Waters, Cam Van Den Dungen. But the second of those pole positions came in the year that we had the washed out Top 10 Shootout back in 2022.
So Cameron Waters has, as you mentioned, had 2 poles, never won this race before. This is one that is well and truly at the top of his list. He's won a Sandown 500. He won that back in 2017. He's been runner-up in the Supercars Championships in 2020 and 2022. This is the driver that I said is always on the rise, and we are waiting for that moment when he breaks through and becomes the champion that we know he is. This is a Mark Webber style. We just feel like on the other side of a win is going to come a raft of them in something like the Bathurst 1000. Exceptional talent, has Mark Frosty Winterbottom alongside, and he's going in one of the favourites for this race tomorrow.
So his teammate is currently in that pole position. The time to beat, 2:04.735. Thomas Randall set that as the first car out. His teammate now with the mountain before him in the Monster Energy car, rounding through the chase, completing his warm-up lap. Cam Waters, might add, I've put him on pole position. He's my tip. So, Cam, do me well.
Coxie's on board. Cam Waters ready to start his lap through Murray's now. The final turn. Gets a good exit. That's tidy. This will be a good run for Cam Waters. The 31-year-old from Mildura heads up to Hell Corner. Turn number 1. A little bit of an overcorrection, but a good exit of turn number 1. Heads up the mountain. Hugs the right-hand side of the track, minimising the distance of the total lap and maximising staying out of the UV. UV is slow on a racetrack. Here we go, heading up to Griffin's Bend at the top of Mountain Straight. The sun blasts into the eyes. Good exit. It's a nice, tidy lap so far. His teammate, a 51.0, is the time to beat. Heading up through the cutting now, all the way out to the wall. Commitment from the Monster Energy driver. 51.0. Let's see if he's up or down versus his teammate. I think he's up, and he is. 0.08 of a second, so it's not much. Remember, Thomas has been slower than the last two. Was had a little bit of a clip up over the top into the grate. He may have touched the wall over McPhillamy now. And Skyline heading back down through the S's towards the Dipper. Cameron Waters, he's up. But is he going to be up at the bottom of the mountain? A slight slide through the Dipper. This is looking untidy from Cam Waters, but is it fast? A 1:24.0 was the fastest to the end of the second sector, and he's nearly half a second up. Cam Waters, it looks loose, but it was fast. We take a big, deep breath, heading back down the mountain. He's got nearly half a second up his sleeve from his teammate. It's the critical moment. Heading down into the chase. The right-hander's done. Tidy. Down through the gears. Hit your apex. Tidy. Good exit. Now he can breathe. Heading up towards Murray's. This will be a good lap. This could be a contending lap. The team watches on in the bunker. They're up against the 2:04.7. This should be a low 2:04. It's a 2:04.2, just over half a second. Cam Waters now on provisional pole. That was a good lap. I had my heart in my mouth a couple of times there.
Yeah, up through the grady. It looks as though he may have touched the wall. We wait for the replay that's just coming through now, but it looked as though he got real close. Got a nice tidy exit out of turn 1, which has hampered a couple of our runners so far in the top 10 shootout, and then got a bit wobbly through the S's and down through the Dipper as well, Cam Waters. So to generate the time, not only that he got overall, but across the top of the mountain, showed great commitment.
Look at that. That was the moment we just watched the replay there, and he didn't touch the wall, but you could see the bobble as he caught the ripple strip. So he was committed right out to the wall. A very good lap from Cam Waters. That is one of our favourites in contention. Putting himself half a second clear of everyone else so far, he's a contender.
2:04.217 from Cam Waters. The next up is Chaz Mostert. A winner here a couple of times in the Mobile One Optus Racing entry coming out of the Walkinshaw and Andretti United garage. He rounds the final turn and commences his start lap here in the top 10 shootout for Tyre Power. Great race sale now on.
A 2 times Bathurst 1000 winner. Winner of arguably the greatest race of all time back in 2014. Heads through turn number 1, nice and tidy. The People's Champ, Chaz Mostert. He heads on up the mountain for his one lap as part of the top 10 shootout here ahead of tomorrow's Bathurst 1000. So Cam Waters, the new benchmark time. It was a 51.009. You may as well call it a 51 dead to the end of the first sector. Chaz looks good. The car looks solid heading up the mountain. More UV disappearing, more shadows taking over the track. The track is only getting faster. Chaz Mostert is up against that 51.009. I think he's up. He is. 0.09 of a second. He's into the 50s. So, Chaz Mostert, the new benchmark time. Oh, that's quick. That is quick over the top. Fights the car through McPhillamy. fires up over the top of Skyline. And now through the S's, takes a lot of curb, but he rotates the car well. Heading towards the dipper. This is where it got very loose for Cam Waters. And Chaz Mostert is looking good. The 1:23.5 at the exit of Forest. He's down. He's down on the time of Cameron Waters. 0.08 of a second. It's going to come down to the chase from here on out. It is that close. Ford Mustang v Ford Mustang. Yet to see the Camaros buy into the fight. Heading down to the chase. He commits heavily into the braking zone. Can he pull it up? He's done it nicely. Exits the chase. One corner remaining. And there is hundredths of a second in it. Has he done enough to go provisional pole to knock over Cameron Waters? A 2:04.2 was the time to beat. And he misses out. Cam Waters is still quicker. It's a 2:04.3 to Chaz Mostert. A tenth and a half away. Cam Waters, it was over the top that he did all the magic.
Which is interesting from Chaz Mostert because he's been one of the quicker guys across the top of the mountain. So to lose a couple of hundredths or a couple of tenths of a second across the top of the mountain to Cam Waters is what's ultimately let him down in the end. So currently in position 2 behind Waters, Randall 3rd, Cam Hill 4th, and Nick Percat rounding out the 5 runners that have already gone around in the top 10 shootout this afternoon, thanks to Tyre Power, Best Lap Kumho tyres. So we're getting ready now for Cooper Murray. This is the one to watch out for. This could be anything, this lap coming up. The driver from Erebus, 24-year-old out of Melbourne, in his Chev Camaro. Can we finally see a Camaro take it to the Fords? Because all this chat about parity is not proving to be accurate at this point in time. No, it's, well, that could be another big discussion point in the press conferences to come a little later this afternoon. But for now, Cooper Murray, he's indicated he's all in. He's going for it this afternoon. A wild card last year with Craig Lowndes. He's in the Chico Camaro. This is the car that won the race last year on the hands of Brodie Kostecki and claimed pole position. What is Cooper Murray about to do as he heads off around the mountain?
Cooper Murray starts his lap. Didn't expect to see him in the top 10 shootout, but he was so quick through qualifying. His words before this as he slightly overcommits to turn 1, but it's a good exit. Will it be slower in, faster out for Cooper Murray as he heads up the mountain? And you can see Betty Klemenko watching on, the team owner. I think she's chewing on the side of her coffee cup. She's that nervous. She's here as the reigning team winners. We go through Griffins into the sunlight. He's working hard at the wheel, is Cooper Murray. I'm not thinking it's going to be quicker than either Chaz Mostert or Cameron Waters. Up through the cutting now. We're looking for that benchmark time. It'll be set by Cam Waters' first sector, and that was the 51.00 because he held on to it, but it was so close, and he's up. Don't listen to me. Look at the timing. He's up by 0.06 of a second. He's right out to the wall. Is Cooper Murray. He's living up to the hype. Up over the top of McPhillamy, down Skyline. Over Skyline, I should say. Down into the S's. Wowee. He nearly took out the wall, did Cooper Murray, but he's kept it together. The hair on the back of my neck is standing up because that was commitment. A 1:23.5. Waters was so fast over the top. He's down. That tells you just how quick Cameron Waters was because he's 4 tenths away, just over the top. He's nearly given away half a second with that level of commitment. I think Cam Waters is looking very good here. He's not making up 4 tenths in the final sector, but it's damage limitation from here on out for Cooper Murray. The young Erebus driver heads down into the chase. Gets it rotated through the left-hander. And he's not making up that much time, but really, where does he shake out? Will he be the first of the Camaro runners, or can he knock Tom Randall out of his position? I think he'll probably be about 4th or 5th on our timing charts, and it was over the top that cost him. And he's just knocked out Tom Randall, so he's done good enough job to be in the top 3 so far. Betty Klemenko realises he probably gave it away up over the top of the mountain, but, you've got to love the kid for trying.
What a lap from Cooper Murray. So Cam Waters sits on provisional pole at the moment. This is SEN Supercars coverage of the top 10 shootout for Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven.
Start investing better with CMC Invest. Access over 45,000 stocks and ETFs, all from one powerful investing app, plus get $0 brokerage on US shares. It's why CMC Invest is CanStar's Broker of the Year 15 years running. Download CMC Invest or visit cmcmarkets.com. Invest better with CMC Invest.
FX spreads apply. All trading involves risk. Refer to T's and C's and FSG at cmcmarkets.com.
Smart driving defined. Discover the award-winning Street Smart Tiggo 4 at Cherry Shell Harbour. Boasting 5-star ANCAP safety, clever tech, striking design and remarkable value. The Tiggo 4 Urban can be yours from just $23,990 drive away. Or turn your smart moves into a brighter future with the new Tiggo 4 Hybrid. Improved fuel economy and extended driving range from just $29,990 drive away. Get into your new Tiggo 4 now at Cherry Shell Harbour.
Terms and conditions apply. DL 8686.
Footy's not the only place for big wins. Score massive deals at Penrith Homemaker, the best in the West, with all the big brands all in one place. Harvey Norman, Domain, Seconds World, Bunnings, Chemist Warehouse and more. New couch sorted. Big TVs, we've got them too. Outdoor barbecues, too easy. So tech, tools, dining tables, mattresses, of course, it's all at Penrith Homemaker with free, easy parking, open 7 days a week. So bring your truck, bring your trailer and bring it home. At Penrith Homemaker, Mulgoa Road, Jamison Town.
Reclaim your weekends by letting the Eufy E15 robot lawnmower do the work for you, saving you time and effort without compromising performance. Smarter than traditional mowers with reliable and consistent results, enjoy an effortless setup in 5 minutes with no wires and no fuss. The hands-free auto mapping and intelligent lawn navigation with precision obstacle avoidance avoids collisions while creating a flawless cart. Available at JB Hi-Fi, The Good Guys and Harvey Norman with a $500 pre-order discount for the first 250 orders. Visit eufy.com/au.
Take a break at Metro Petroleum and enjoy a Mr. Whippy ice cream cup. Try the limited edition bubblegum flavour. Creamy, colourful and fun. Available only for a limited time. On the move and feeling hungry? Warm, tasty meals are ready for you. Grab a 4 and 20 Traveller Pie 160 gram for $4 each, or 2 for $7.50, or a 4 and 20 king-size sausage roll 180 gram 2 for $8. At participating Metro Petroleum locations, October 1st to 31st.
For the best in racing, you never want to miss Giddy Up with Gareth Hall.
Don't tell me, Johnny, you're tipping a horse with 49 after winning a listed race.
I am tipping a horse that I think is going to be a star.
Watch the live stream of Giddy Up with Gareth Hall on the SEN app. Racing news, form analysis and leading racing experts.
So I won bloke before. I said, you didn't back my horse on the weekend, did you? He said, no, I didn't know it was in. I said, well, it won. That's why, because you didn't back it.
Giddy Up with Gareth Hall. Streamed each weekday from 8 a.m. till 12 noon on the SEN app. You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Den Dungen.
Welcome back to the top 10 shootout of the Bathurst 1000 SEN Supercars. Thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. It is currently Cam Waters on provisional pole ahead of Chaz Mostert, Cooper Murray in third, Thomas Randall in fourth, Cam Hill fifth, Nick Percat in sixth, and you can hear in the background that Anton De Pasquale is warming up for his lap around the mountain. Now, Cameron Van Den Dungen, who joins myself, Matthew Cox, this afternoon. This car was in the walls earlier in the weekend, quite literally. Harry Jones, the co-driver, hitting the wall coming out of the chase.
56 Gs was the impact. Adrian Burgess that looks after that car said they were so lucky to get away with that one. 56 G impact, and yet here we are, top 10 shootout in contention for pole with Anton De Pasquale at the wheel. They're heading back down the mountain on their warm-up lap. We've had enough of a chance to take a big, deep breath. I think your little tip before this one on Cam Waters is looking strong, but we still have the heavy hitters to come out.
Well, that's why it's not. Don't put it in Biro just yet, because Brodie Kostecki and Brock Feeney are still to come. And even this man, he's been in the shootout a couple of times at Mount Panorama before. His best start is on the front row, a second place start back in 2021 for Anton De Pasquale. Moved teams this year. It's part of the Team 18 entry, which is taking over the General Motors homologation team from next year from 888 Race Engineering. So there's a fair bit on this man's shoulders. He's been in some good form in the last few rounds of the championship, Anton De Pasquale, and has shown glimpses so far this weekend as he sets off for his lap in the top 10 shootout.
The 30-year-old from Melbourne starts his lap now. ADP, yeah, you know me, is what he says as he heads down to turn 1. Critically important to get the drive off this turn. He's got loose. He's got to the back of the curb and he's just dropped the rear end off slightly. That'll compromise him by the top of the mountain. And we'll get his split up when we get through the cutting. So how much does that hurt him? The good thing he's got up his sleeve is more shadows are across the track now. And that means the track will be faster up to Griffin's Bend. He's just feathering the throttle slightly. It looks a bit loose in the rear. Now is loose fast in this scenario. The 2:04.2 is the time to beat of Cameron Waters, who is on provisional pole. He makes his way out of the cutting, up over the top, up against a 51.009 from Cam Waters. And he's 3/10, nearly 4/10 away, heading up the mountain. You can probably hear it in my voice. He's got a lot of work to do here as he goes right out to the wall at the Great. Up over the top skyline. You don't see where the track goes, so you've got to commit. Heading down the mountain, trying to find the fast way. Now, Cameron Waters has been untouchable over the top with that 32.5. Still holds the fastest middle sector of this lap. So the 123.5. He's got to go faster than Cam Waters and make up a heap of time. He's not going to go anywhere near him. He's nearly 7/10 away, is Anton De Pasquale. So we look further back. I think he circulates around the Cam Hill, Nick Percat end of the spectrum, which puts him down about 5th or 6th and most likely down around 8th, 7th or 8th by the end of this session. What's he been able to do to salvage it? Down into the chase he goes. Rotates well. It hurt him though, didn't it? The rear ends through turn 1, then up the top of Mountain Straight at Griffins. It just wasn't comfortable. How bad is the damage, though? 2:04.2 is the time to beat. Where does he pop out? It's ahead of Percat, but behind Hill, and that means he could finish as high as about, or as bad as about 8th. So 8th is about the worst he'll start.
He looked frustrated, though, in the cockpit of the car. He hit his hand on the steering wheel as he came across the line. It was, though, that moment coming out of turn 1, but then even coming out of Griffin's Bend turn 2 and up into the cutting, it just didn't feel like he was in full control as we look at the slide.
It was out of control through turn 1, and then coming back down the mountain, he was well spotted there because he got onto the exit. But look at that, even through the S's, we were able to see more than you are. We're trying to paint a picture for you. Down the S's, he's overcommitted, lost the rear end again, and spent all that time scrubbing off speed, trying to keep it off the wall. He'll be frustrated, but he's inside at least the top 8.
So the question is, what did Cam Waters do so well across the top of the mountain?
I think if you speak to Cam Waters, I guarantee you he stopped breathing. He's committed over the top and stopped breathing as we get set for another driver.
What about this young man, Ryan Wood? He's also shown glimpses of pace. His second full-time season, his second Bathurst 1000. He's in the top 10 shootout for the very first time. The second entry out of the Walkinshaw Andretti United garage. He crosses the line to start his lap.
He was a race winner at Perth this year, race 14 of the season. Heads down through turn 1. This is where it went wrong for Anton De Pasquale, and a much better exit for the young driver from Wellington, New Zealand, who currently lives in Melbourne, 21 years of age, heading up the mountain. He's opting to go driver's right, but then halfway through, heads across to open up Griffin's Bend. Lots of shadow across the track now. It'll be gripping up nicely for him, and that's a beautiful exit at Griffin's. Looks nice and tidy. Cameron Waters, the time to beat as he makes his way up. The tyre power cutting all the way out to the wall, and I can tell you it feels like a wall when you look at it.
from the cockpit. 51.0, the time to beat. How is he? He's up. He's up by a good margin too. Over a tenth of a second through the first sector. This car is looking like it's on rails. Over the top now, over Skyline. He heads back down the mountain through the S's. That was so quick up the mountain. This is the new benchmark. But it comes down to this middle sector. This is where Cam was so much quicker than anyone else. A 32.5. Can he go quicker? He's down. That shows you just how big the time from Cam Waters was over the top. He's over a tenth down now. He's given up 2 tenths over the top of the mountain. It's not done yet. It'll be close. I think it goes the way of Cam Waters at this point in time. Something special needs to come out at the chase. Carry the throttle as long as you can. Heavy on the brakes, but do you compromise your corner speed? No, he doesn't. He's rotated through the chase well. He needs to make up an extra tenth. In fact, nearly a tenth and a half. I don't think he's going to do it, but can he knock off Chaz Mostert? Where does he pop out? Third, just behind Mostert. So a solid lap, but wowee, Cam Waters, if he gets this, it'll be entirely because of Sector 2 and commitment over the top of the mountain.
He had a little moment, Ryan Wood, coming out of McPhillamy where he dropped the car on the dirt and he got right up against the wall too, coming across. I think that was the great that we were looking at. But this is the moment here. He got out in the dirt, flicked the rooster tail up into the air, and I think that ultimately cost him across the top of the mountain. So the gap to the leader was just over 2 tenths. So he actually lost some time again. So he was up at the first sector and then lost all the rest of the time down to through sectors 2 and 3. So for those of you that have never been to Bathurst, Sector 1 basically takes you all the way up the mountain. Sector 2 takes you across the top of the mountain. Sector 3 brings you back down again. So it looked like he had a straight speed advantage up the hill, but then lost it all just on commitment over the top. I wouldn't say commitment. I would say probably grip, because you picked it up. McPhillamy was the moment he put it all away. Which was strange because it looked so planted going up the mountain as well. That's what looks so strong. Okay, this man, he's been almost unstoppable in season 2025. I refer to Brock Feeney. He's the Sprint Cup champion, which has all sorts of impacts for the finals. We'll go through that tomorrow. 10 a.m. our coverage starts here on SEN across the network and the app. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. But as we narrow in on Brock Feeney, qualified second yesterday. He's been in a world of his own in season 2025. 14 victories, I think he's got to his name. He's had multiple pole positions as well over the course. Across 14 poles, actually. It is 12 victories for season 2025 for Brock Feeney as he comes around the final turn to commence his lap. And Cam, I think this is going to be something special. The heavyweight combatants take to the track now, and this is the first of them. Brock Feeney commits to turn 1, a bit of a wiggle on the steering wheel, and he gets loose on the exit. That was some opposite lock through turn 1. Has that hurt him? I saw it on entry. It didn't turn in. It had no point. And then he overcommitted, and that was very loose on exit. He's kept the speed up, though. How much does it hurt heading up the mountain? Through Griffins now. Brock Feeney. Second here last year. He's won a 500, an Adelaide 500. He's won a Sandown 500. And now he's put his back against the wall on what will probably be a slower first sector, a 51.0. If he's up, I tell you what, that's got some mumbo-jumbo. It's only 400s down. Now he's in the window. Didn't hurt as much as I thought. The Red Bull entry all the way out to the wall. There was nothing left. It was right out to the wall. McPhillamy is good. Over Skyline is better. Listen to the tyres fighting. He is committed over the top. Brock Feeney, he's won the Sprint Cup this year. He wants a Bathurst pole position. And there is nothing left in this car. A 23.5. This is the sector that's going to make or break him. He's down 3 tenths. Cameron Waters is looking good here. Brock Feeney, there's only one driver to come after this, and he's had the last 2 pole positions. He cannot find 4 tenths of a second in the final sector. It's unheard of. It's now damage limitation. Heading into the chase. Heavy on the brakes.
It must have just got wrong-footed on the other side. Up over the top. It looks solid other than that. He's okay through the chase. Heads down to the final turn. Murray's. Where does he pop out? Because it's currently forward. Chev Camaro goes fourth. It is going to be Ford's in the top three guaranteed. What parity is what the team at Chev Camaro are saying. General Motors fans are going, put your parity away.
Yeah, you can pack that in the trailer and forget about it. So currently Cam Waters ahead of Chaz Mostert, Ryan Wood. Brock Feeney slots in to fourth. Cooper Murray fifth. Thomas Randall sixth. Cam Hill seventh. Anton De Pasquale in eighth. Nick Percat in ninth with Brody Kostecki to come. Across the top of the hill, he scraped a few layers of paint and then got very wobbly coming across through the S's.
It was the S's that hurt him. He got out of sequence there and that just cost him all that time over the top. Was chasing the car on the way down. I've heard many a driver talk about it and I've experienced myself, not in a supercar, but I can tell you they say it's like chasing your shopping trolley down the hill. You're basically holding on for dear life on the way down. Unfortunately, he got his sequencing wrong through the S's and that was enough to only put him good enough for at worst fifth.
Fortunately for Brock, he didn't have that wobbly wheel on the front of the trolley that you can sometimes encounter either. All right, let's straighten up because Brody Kostecki, the man who has been on pole the last 2 years. Do you love us UV me on our tips, by the way? Just getting ready for this. It is yes. Our 2 tips. We've made it to the final 2. It's come down.
I bought a ticket by saying the last guy out, so I was always going to be in the hunt.
You did. See, I put my life on the line with my tip. Here he comes, Brody Kostecki. Some fierce wheel work to pump up those tyres with heat. Coming down into the final turn. The reigning Bathurst champion, the 2023 Supercars champion, this year in the Shell V-Power Racing Team Mustang, he's away. Last year's Bathurst 1000 champion, last 2 pole positions here in a row. The 2023 Repco Supercars champion starts his lap, he's through turn 1 very nicely indeed. There was not a millimetre left. Todd Hazelwood, his co-driver, looks on. The toddler, as he's known, I've never seen him look so nervous as they head up the mountain to Griffin's Bend. Solid entry. Brody Kostecki, he will leave nothing to chance. Heads on up. It is now all shadow around the track. This is the fastest conditions we'll see all day. Cam Waters has been headed a couple of times in the first sector. So this is the moment they can get up on him. A 51.009 is the time to beat. Kostecki is up. He's up by 0.162 of a second. Now the commitment over the top, through the grate, out to the wall. Brody's looking solid. The crowd lights up. He's good through McPhillamy. He's better over Skyline. Can he hold on in the S as the car looks like it's a jet heading down through the dipper towards Forrest's elbow. That's the moment of truth. That's when we know whether he can get this done. Can he make it 3 from 3? The crowd are lining up. He's still up. He's up. He's lost slightly on the top, but he's in the window. Could he do it? The first driver ever to go back to back to back through a top 10 shootout. It's going to come down to the chase. Tighten up your belts, sport fans. You've got a pole. It's just which driver is it going to be? He hits his apex. He gets a good exit. It's going to be tight on the line. 1 corner remaining. Brody Kostecki v Cam Waters. Turns in. Car looks tidy. It's going to come down to the line. I think he's done enough. Brody Kostecki's done it. That is 3 pole positions in a row. It has never been done before in the top 10 shootout format. And Brody Kostecki, he blew up the press conference and now he's blown up our timing monitors. Look how happy he is in the car too, fist pumping, almost emotional Brody Kostecki. He knows what that means, a 204.041. Ahead of Cam Waters in second, Chaz Mostert third, Ryan Wood fourth, Brock Feeney fifth, Cooper Murray sixth, Thomas Randall seventh, Cam Hill in eighth, Anton De Pasquale ninth, and Nick Percat will start tomorrow's great race from 10th. What a top 10 shootout, Cam.
So what did we have on the wager for that one there, Coxie?
Luckily,
Because I am blown away by the talent of that driver. Brody Kostecki, incredible. That is unheard of. That is putting him into some crazy territory when it comes to qualifying. Race day, though, Coxie, very different proposition.
Yeah, a whole different kettle of fish, and maybe that P word might rear its head tomorrow.
It is going to rear its head right now in this press conference. I guarantee if my mate Chad Nalon is doing that press conference, he'll go, so Brody, what about this parity? Would you like to have another conversation? Because it is forward. Front two rows completely filled with the blue oval.
To think that the issue in that top 10 shootout was across the top of the mountain. For Cam Waters to hang on for as long as he did.
Still held the fastest middle sector, by the way, to the end. Even on that last lap, he was still the fastest driver over the top of the mountain.
And to have the commitment to even be in the window. We saw so many drivers in that shootout fall out of contention for pole because the top of the mountain wasn't good enough. Brody Kostecki, with all his might, he's flashing the headlights as he comes down through the S's at the moment in celebration. They're going nuts up on the top of the mountain.
So this has been, look at this, we're watching some replays in here, so we'll bring you all of that information. It's showing Brody Kostecki coming back down the mountain. Now, the only difference between himself and, say, a Brock Feeney, who ended up fifth, was Brock got out of sequence. It gripped up at the right time for Brody Kostecki. Unfortunately, Brock lost it slightly, and that, through the S's, on the way back down, if you are offline slightly, it completely messes up your entire run back down the mountain. Todd Hazelwood, very happy. They're the reigning champs, and they will start from pole position again.
Yeah, they certainly will. So reiterating that top 10 for you. Brody Kostecki first in the Shell V-Power Racing Mustang. Cam Waters in second. He qualified down in seventh. So that is a big jump from Cam Waters to start on the front row of the grid tomorrow. The teammates, Chaz Mostert, the Ryan Wood, the two Walkinshaw cars will start alongside each other in third and fourth. Brock Feeney, the first of the Camaros, in fifth, alongside Cooper Murray in sixth. Thomas Randall will start from seventh. Then Cam Hill, Anton De Pasquale and Nick Percat rounding out the top 10 of the shootout this afternoon, Cam.
And the rest of the grid will be, well, Macaulay Jones, Will Brown, James Golding, Will Davison in 14th. We heard from Lee Holdsworth, who'll be starting out of position 15th with David Reynolds. And we mentioned we heard from Tony D'Alberto, who'll be starting from position 14, so outside of row number 7. And the rest of the grid falls out the way it did yesterday. Brody Kostecki makes his way back into pit lane. He will be incredibly happy. Pumped up is probably the right term for that, because what he just did, for those of you that don't understand the sport, has never been done since we moved to the top 10 shootout format. That includes your Greg Murphys, that includes your Garth Tanders, your Craig Lowndes, that includes all the greats, Jamie Whincup with his 7, Supercars championships or whatever it is. He's just gone and done something very special today.
He certainly has. So the drivers that have claimed 3 pole positions in a row, Alan Moffat and Peter Brock, they don't qualify for this because the top 10 shootout wasn't around back in that era. It came through the middle part of the three-peat from Peter Brock when he did it and they implemented the top 10 shootout. So this is the first time anyone in a top 10 shootout has gone back to back to back as he pulls up now in pit lane with pole position. We might clear a break here on our Supercars, SEN Supercars coverage, all thanks to Penrite Oil. 100 years still driven. We'll wrap things up and preview the great race tomorrow afternoon.
Looking for the coolest deals in air conditioning? Come to Blue Star Air Conditioning for the coolest prices. Tradies gain access to exclusive offers and the best prices in Sydney on Australia's leading air conditioning brands. For best in business, the tradies' choice is always Blue Star Air Conditioning. For comfortable prices and comfortable results, drop by 202 Hume Highway, Lansvale, or visit bluestarac.com.au now.
It's OMF's massive stock take sale with $15 million of stock ready to go. For an extra week, get up to 55% off selected mattresses, like our popular BC7 mattress under $1,300, or our super comfy refresh mattress under $1,500, and get up to 20% off selected bedroom furniture. Plus, get an extra 10% off selected already reduced mattresses. Sale extended at OMF, the home of mattress, bedroom, bedding and furniture.
Start investing better with CMC Invest. Access over 45,000 stocks and ETFs, all from one powerful investing app, plus get $0 brokerage on US shares. It's why CMC Invest is CanStar's Broker of the Year 15 years running. Download CMC Invest or visit cmcmarkets.com. Invest better with CMC Invest.
FX spreads apply. All trading involves risk. Refer to T's and C's and FSG at cmcmarkets.com.
Luca, I am going to buy a Hyundai.
There's surprisingly big offers across a range of hybrid models at Hyundai. Receive up to $2,500 deposit contribution on in-stock, new and demo hybrid models, including the Kona, Santa Fe and i30 sedan with Hyundai Finance. Visit your Hyundai dealer today.
Approved applicants only.
Ends 31st December. T's and C's, fees, charges and lending criteria apply. Hyundai Capital Australia Proprietary Limited, Australian Credit License 554051.
Hi, Timmy Manor here. If you're looking to support a 100% Aussie energy retailer that's backed by Snowy Hydro, a leader in renewable energy, and has an amazing team of consultants all based here in Australia, you should give our friends at Red Energy a call today. They're good people, they have competitive rates, and they'll look after you. In fact, tell them I sent you. Call 131-806 or go to redenergy.com.au. Eligibility criteria and conditions apply.
Tough jobs call for tough stuff. With VisiTread Temporary Surface Protection, you've got heavy-duty projects covered. It's breathable, spill-resistant and rugged enough to handle worksite wear. Prep your space with the tough stuff that's made of 100% recycled Aussie materials. VisiTread, available at Bunnings Warehouse.
You top it. You shank it. You yell for a lot, but you keep coming back because there's never enough golf. At Golfbox, we get it. Save up to 40% off golf gear during our 40th anniversary sale. Golfbox, there's never enough golf.
You're listening to SEN Supercars with Matt Cox and Cameron Van Den Dungen.
Welcome back to SEN Supercars, the conclusion of the top 10 shootout this afternoon, thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven. Our presenting partner is Tyre Power. Great race sale now on Save on Kumho tyres. Visit your local Tyre Power today. Brody Kostecki has claimed pole position for the third year in a row, this time in a different car with a different manufacturer. The Shell V-Power Racing Mustang will head off from pole position tomorrow afternoon. He beat out Cam Waters, and we're still admiring what he did over the top of the mountain, Cam.
Incredible effort from Cameron Waters, even better effort from Brody Kostecki. So to give you an idea, Sector 1, the three sectors went the way of Brody Kostecki. Sector 2 went the way of Cam Waters. Sector 3 then went back the way of Brody Kostecki. And at the end of it all, 0.176 of a second separated first and second. Incredible effort. The bit I must add, though, Cam Waters did it, and you mentioned it just before the ad break, from a lot further down the order. The track got quicker, so his lap time was almighty. So do not take anything away from him. They are up to their eyeballs in this race for tomorrow.
Yeah, it certainly is. So 11:45 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. The race will kick off tomorrow. Our coverage here on SEN will start at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll have plenty of coffee, and you're going to need some sugar tomorrow, I reckon, Cam.
We're going to make sure we carb up, mate. I hope you're going to have your pasta tonight. I've got some protein bars in here, some water. We won't go the full Dwayne Russell, though. We're going to keep the soft drink away from the table. But it's an enduro for us as well. 6 hours of racing, essentially. Last year was the fastest we've seen, but strap yourself in, mate. Get ready for a long day.
It certainly is. So to repeat the top 10 for you as we depart for the evening, Brody Kostecki in pole position, Cam Waters second, Chaz Mostert third, Ryan Wood fourth, Brock Feeney in fifth, Cooper Murray sixth, seventh Thomas Randall, eighth Cam Hill, ninth Anton De Pasquale, and Nick Percat will start out of 10th position tomorrow. We should say their cars will start from those grid positions because we're thinking that a few of the co-drivers will be commencing tomorrow's race. There's so many dynamics that we look forward to discussing with you tomorrow. The fact that full-time drivers don't have to start this year creates intrigue around strategy. The drop in fuel capacity for the cars, which means that we're going to see more stints tomorrow, is going to impact strategy. The tyres, how long are they going to last?
The big one. Tyres is actually the biggest thing tomorrow. Well, the parity around fuel is probably the big talking point because it's blowing up there now. It's already blowing up around the mountain right now. So get ready for some headlines, those listeners, because that is what we're going to be talking about early. But It's going under the radar. Soft tyre. First time we're running the entire race on a soft tyre. For those that don't know, that means they run out of life real soon. So we've got a lot we're going to talk about tomorrow.
We certainly do, as we bid farewell on SEN Supercars from the top 10 shootout. Thanks to Penrite Oil, 100 years still driven, Australian owned and made since 1926. Cameron Van Den Dungen, well done for the call of the top 10 shootout. I look forward to sharing the commentary box with you tomorrow afternoon for the great race.
Thank you, mate. Looking forward to it. I need to go and rest up now, though. I'm going to ask my wife for a massage, an ice bath. I'm going full driver treatment tonight.
Yeah, and I reckon some honey down for the throat as well to make sure you do get through the 6 odd hours tomorrow afternoon. I'm Matthew Cox. We look forward to your company tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time for the 2025 edition of the Bathurst 1000 here on SEN Supercars, thanks to Penrite Oil and Tyre Power.